My grandmother had a heart attack and wanted to see my husband. But he insisted on going to the airport to pick up his first love instead. I couldn't take it anymore. If you dare go see her today, we're getting a divorce, I said. He gave a disdainful snort and dragged me to finalize the divorce papers. As we walked out of the registration office, he sneered at me, even if you kneel and beg, I'll never remarry you. Later, he knelt before me holding 999 roses, begging me to remarry him. Please don't ignore me, can you forgive me just this once? I laughed, and his sworn enemy laughed too. I flung our marriage certificate in his face. Take a good look, he's my wife now. I suddenly received a phone call from my dad while I was at work. Noelle, your grandma had a heart attack. The doctor says she doesn't have much time left. She wants to see you in Casper. A sharp pain gripped my chest, and I nearly stumbled. I was raised by my grandma, she's the most important person in my life. Though I knew this day would come eventually, I still couldn't accept it. Panicked, I rushed to Casper's office and knocked. Grandma wants to see you. Come with me. Casper picked up his car keys from the desk and frowned. Ariana just called me. She said she can't get a taxi at the airport after her business trip. I need to pick her up. Ariana would turn to Casper for every little thing, whether it was a broken bulb at home, a car breakdown on the road, or even calling him in the middle of the night when she couldn't sleep. We've been fighting a lot lately because of her. No, doesn't she have any other friends? Why does it have to be you who picks her up? You're not going, come with me to see Grandma. Casper looked at me with displeasure. Noelle, I have to pick her up. My heart ached sharply as I grabbed his arm, my voice choked with tears. Grandma's had a heart attack, she doesn't have much time left. She could go at any moment. Please come with me to see her. Casper shook off my hand and scoffed. Noelle, even if you don't want me to pick up Ariana, there's no need to curse your own grandmother like this. You're getting more and more unreasonable, but I don't have time to argue with you. Ariana is still waiting for me at the airport. With that, he started walking toward the door, but I ran after him and blocked his path. With reddened eyes, I said word by word, Casper, I said, you're coming with me to see Grandma. Casper looked at me impatiently. It's not what you think between Ariana and me. I just see her as a little sister. Right now, her family isn't in the country, so I'm helping her when she needs it. Why do you have to be so suspicious? I sneered in response. Since when does a little sister feed you her leftovers, buy you matching couple outfits, or ask you to stay the night because she's scared? Anger flashed across Casper's face as he shouted at me, how much longer are you going to keep this up? I've explained it to you 100 times. Why do you always have to fixate on these trivial things? His outburst stunned me. At that moment, it felt like he was slowly slicing my heart with a knife, not fatal, but agonizing beyond words. Suddenly, Casper's phone vibrated a few times. He picked it up and looked. It was a voice message from Ariana. Casper, when are you arriving? I'm so hungry and tired, I really miss you. There were also 2 kissing emojis following the message. Casper quickly lowered his head to reply to Ariana. At that moment, the corners of his lips curved slightly, and his entire facial expression softened considerably, as if handling something incredibly precious. Yet he was always cold and impatient with me. I was his wife, after all. The thought made my anger surge, and I grabbed the folder from the desk and hurled it at him. Casper winced in pain, putting away his phone and glaring at me. Noelle. Tears welled up in my eyes as I forced myself to hold them back. Casper, I'm asking you, will you come with me to see Grandma? Without hesitation, Casper replied, how many times do I have to say it? I have to pick up Ariana. I can't just leave her alone at the airport. Gritting my teeth, I asked, so, you absolutely must go? Yes. I wiped away my tears, unable to hold back any longer, and said, if you dare go to the airport to pick her up today, we're getting a divorce. Casper froze for a moment, then looked down at me with a condescending gaze. Noelle, you're pushing it now. I pressed my lips together. Casper snorted dismissively and said, "Fine, let's divorce. I won't indulge your tantrums. I'll take you to finalize the divorce right now." Then he grabbed my wrist and pulled me out of the office, into the elevator. His sudden and rough movement made the back of my head hit the elevator door, sending a sharp, piercing pain through me. Tears welled up in my eyes instantly. Casper didn't notice my distress at all, or even acknowledge my tears. "Looks like you have too much free time at work to keep nitpicking me for no reason. I've had enough. Ariana has always considered you her sister-in-law, and all you do is speak ill of her behind her back. I never realized you could be so petty. I'm so disappointed in you." He kept talking, but my head was throbbing so much that I could barely make out his words. After exiting the elevator, he grabbed me and hurried forward, nearly making me twist my ankle from the sudden tug. I tried to shake off his hand but couldn't. "Casper, I can walk on my own." "Don't." My words were cut off before I could finish. "Stop pretending. Did you really think I wouldn't realize you're deliberately stalling because you don't want to divorce me? But it's too late for that now." Casper drove me to the divorce registration office. After parking the car, he turned and silently stared at me. I avoided his gaze and stepped out immediately. With a darkened expression, he remained seated for a long moment before finally following me outside. Once seated, the clerk asked if I was certain about the divorce. Without hesitation, I confirmed. When it was Casper's turn, he hesitated before answering. Only when I glanced at him did he finally say yes. The entire process passed without a single exchange between us. The divorce was finalized swiftly. Casper turned to me with a cold sneer. "Noelle, even if you beg me on your knees this time, I won't get back together with you." With that, he walked away, leaving me alone on the side of the road. Staring at the divorce papers in my hand, a wave of bitterness washed over me. No matter how hard I wiped them, the tears on my face wouldn't stop flowing. Every time we'd fought to the point of divorce before, it was always me who bowed my head first to apologize and make up. So he was certain I'd go crawling back to him again. Not this time. I'll never let Casper trample on my feelings again. I took a taxi to the hospital and stood by the roadside for a long time before finally pulling out my phone and calling Casper's sworn rival. "Hello?" It had been a long time since I'd last heard his voice. "Finn, it's me." The person on the other end of the line fell silent. I moistened my chapped lips. "Did you mean it when you said you'd marry me if I got divorced?" "What did you say?" I held my breath and asked again, "I'm divorced now." "Is it true that you said you'd marry me?" "It's true." I exhaled heavily, my hanging heart finally settling. "Then come to the hospital now, and let's go see my grandmother together. Grandma's health has been deteriorating over the past 2 years. Sometimes she's not quite lucid and often mistakes people, so she probably wouldn't recognize that it's not Casper." It didn't take long for Finn to arrive. Dressed in a white shirt and black dress pants, he stood tall and straight, his handsome features now exuding mature composure, having shed the youthful flamboyance of his younger days. He seemed somewhat different from how I remembered him. I looked at him and said, "Finn, thank you." Finn didn't respond, his calm eyes fixed on me. Suddenly, he bent down and crouched in front of me. Before I could react, his large hand grasped my ankle. "Didn't you know your foot is bleeding?" I looked down. There was a small wound on the top of my right foot, blood trickling from it continuously. It might have been from when Casper dragged me into the car and accidentally scraped it. I hadn't even noticed, yet he spotted it at a glance. Finn took out a handkerchief and carefully wiped the blood away. Watching him focus on his task with such seriousness, I felt an indescribable warmth in my heart. After a while, Finn straightened up, put away his handkerchief, and said calmly, "Have the nurse take care of it for you later." His expression was completely natural, as if everything he did was perfectly ordinary. I nodded. The ward was crowded with my relatives. My parents stood by the hospital bed, their faces grave. My father said Grandma was barely holding on and had been waiting for me to arrive. Grandma lay on the hospital bed, looking feeble and barely alive, as if she might draw her last breath any moment. But the moment she heard I had arrived, her dull eyes instantly lit up. I threw myself onto the hospital bed, choking with sobs. Grandma. Grandma looked at me, smiled, her frail face full of kindness and affection. Sweet granddaughter. Grandma struggled to speak, but her mind was still clear. Holding her hand, I responded between sobs, I'm here, Grandma, I'm here. Just as before, Grandma kept chattering, advising me to eat more, wear more clothes, and stay up less late. I nodded continuously, saying yes, as my tears fell one by one onto the back of my hand. Until I felt the warmth gradually fading from Grandma's hand, I finally realized she was truly leaving, and I couldn't help but burst into loud sobs. Grandma, don't go, don't leave me. My parents divorced when I was very young. Not long after, they remarried and started new families, leaving me with Grandma and hardly ever checking on me. I grew up with Grandma, and my bond with her was far deeper than with my parents. Seeing how hard I was crying, Finn handed me a few tissues to wipe my tears. My father, with reddened eyes, pulled Finn to stand before Grandma and said, Mom, Casper is here. Grandma glanced at my father, shook her head, and said haltingly, I haven't grown so blind as to mistake people. This is Finn, not Casper, it's Finn. Everyone in the hospital room froze. Grandma wanted to hold Finn's hand, but she lacked the strength to raise it, managing only to twitch her fingers. Finn immediately bent down to clasp her hand and said, Grandma. The elderly grandmother's voice trembled slowly as she instructed, I entrust my precious granddaughter to you. You must cherish her well, take good care of her, both of you, must stay happy. Finn nodded solemnly, Grandma, don't worry, I will take good care of Noelle and never let her suffer the slightest grievance. Grandma smiled contentedly, I know, with you, I have complete peace of mind. Then, as if having fulfilled all her wishes, she closed her eyes in satisfaction. Beside her, the heart monitor slowly flattened into a straight line. I completely broke down. After Grandma passed away, I sat in the chair all night, with Finn keeping me company. Seeing how low my spirits still were, he comforted me, saying, Grandma loved you the most, she wouldn't want to see you so heartbroken. I couldn't hold back and started crying again. Finn wrapped an arm around my shoulders, quietly soothing me. He didn't leave to buy breakfast until daybreak. The funeral arrangements were handled by my parents, though they still didn't know about my divorce from Casper. When my dad came over and asked, why hasn't Casper arrived yet? I've divorced him, and there's no need to inform his family about Grandma's passing. My father paused for a moment and sighed, if only you had married Finn back then. I lowered my head to look at the coat draped over me, feeling a pang in my nose. Last night, Finn had worried I might get cold and even went out of his way to fetch this coat from his car for me. My grandmother and Finn's grandmother were close friends, and our families often interacted. Finn and I could be considered childhood sweethearts. For a period when my grandmother's health was poor and she needed care herself, she sent me to live with Finn's family next door. All of Finn's family members were extremely kind to me. Only Finn acted like a little adult, always trying to control me. He wouldn't let me eat too much candy, kept urging me to study every day, and would even scold me if I played for too long. Over time, I grew to dislike him intensely. Whenever he spoke to me, I usually ignored him, and sometimes I'd even give him a cold shoulder. But when I really think about it, everything he did was for my own good. He didn't let me eat too much candy because I had severe cavities back then, and I couldn't sleep well at night due to the pain. Pushing me to study was just his way of helping me get into a good school in the future. When I was bullied by classmates at school, he would always be the first to stand up for me. Even though I often ignored him, whenever I turned to him, no matter what I asked, he would always say yes. Just like this time. When I needed him, he appeared immediately. Finn is truly good. But with Casper, it was always me compromising. He never considered my feelings. I only went back to the villa to pack my things after Grandma's funeral. As I entered, Casper happened to be coming down the stairs. Our eyes met. A trace of mockery flashed in Casper's gaze, as if saying, "I knew you'd come back." I averted my eyes, walked past him, and headed straight upstairs into the room. The housekeeper followed me in. "Madam, where have you been these past few days?" I pulled out a suitcase. "Casper and I are divorced." "Don't call me madam anymore." The housekeeper stared at me in shock. "You and the master were doing just fine, how did this sudden divorce happen?" I didn't explain much to her and started packing my bags. Aside from a few important belongings, I left behind all the daily necessities. After all, those can always be replaced with new ones anytime. I sorted out some unwanted items and asked the maid to throw them away. The maid picked up a notebook from the box and said, "Madam, isn't this the recipe book you prepared for Mister? Are you really getting rid of it?" I glanced at it. Casper has a sensitive stomach, so I'd been researching various dishes to help improve his digestion, even consulting experts for advice. He's quite particular about his taste, and many ingredients were too harsh for his system, so this recipe book took me a considerable amount of time to perfect. Over the past few months, his stomach gradually improved under my care. No need, just throw it all away." I pulled my suitcase downstairs. Casper was drinking coffee and expressionlessly glanced at my luggage. The housekeeper followed me with a box in her arms, looking conflicted as she said to Casper, "Sir, these are the recipes Madam spent so much effort writing for you. Isn't it a pity to just throw them away?" Casper knew about these recipes too, but he always took my kindness for granted. Now that he heard I was going to discard them, he panicked. "Noelle, did you say to throw away the recipe?" I didn't answer him. Instead, I picked up the recipe from the box and threw it into the trash right in front of Casper. A shadow passed over Casper's eyes. Seeing his reaction, I felt a surge of satisfaction. Yes, things I don't want anymore should be thrown away. Casper slammed his coffee cup down heavily on the table. "What did you say?" "I said throw it away, are you deaf? I won't let you throw away the recipe." Ignoring him, I turned to leave. Casper suddenly stepped in front of me, gripping my shoulders with an expression dark enough to drip water. "Noelle, pick up the recipe," he demanded. I met his gaze directly. "Casper, when I made you drink my medicinal porridge before, you couldn't stand it. Why are you so upset now that I'm throwing away this recipe? Could it be because I wrote this one with my own hands?" Casper instantly shook me off. "Don't flatter yourself. I just think this cookbook shouldn't be thrown in the trash since you wrote it for me." I nodded, bent down to pick the cookbook out of the trash, then grabbed the lighter from the table, lit it, and burned the entire cookbook on the spot. By the time Casper tried to stop me, it was already too late. Watching the ashes on the ground, the corner of his eye twitched violently. I curled my lips into a smile. "Since you think it shouldn't be thrown in the trash, burning it outright is even better." With those words, I didn't bother to check Casper's reaction and simply pulled my suitcase toward the door. Behind me, Casper's furious roar echoed, "Noelle." I left without looking back. There was nothing left in this place worth my nostalgia. Stepping out of the villa, I felt a wave of uncertainty, unsure of where to go. My grandmother's house was now occupied by my uncle's family, and it wouldn't be right for me to move in there. As for my parents, I wasn't close to them growing up, and I don't want to go live with them now. Just as I was about to check into a hotel, my phone rang. It was Finn. I answered. "Hello. Where are you?" I instinctively gave him my current address, and Finn said he'd come right over. Before I could say anything else, he hung up. About 10 minutes later, a Maybach pulled up in front of me. Finn got out of the car and lifted my suitcase into the trunk. Once inside the car, I said, "Take me to a hotel." "You're staying at my place." I was stunned. Finn looked at me and said, "We're getting married soon. Of course, we should live together." Getting married? His words suddenly reminded me that Finn and I were about to marry. I hung my head low, my cheeks burning. Finn didn't say anything, but his expression seemed a bit uneasy. Clearly, he was nervous too. The awkwardness plunged the atmosphere into silence. These past few days, I hadn't rested well due to Grandma's passing. Perhaps because the car's atmosphere was so soothing, I fell asleep shortly after. When I woke up, I found myself lying on a bed. Staring at the clean, neatly decorated space, I finally realized this was his room. There's a note on the nightstand, left by Finn. He said he had something urgent to attend to and had to go out. Maria is the housekeeper, and I should ask her if I need anything. I lay back down again. Everything here made me feel so comfortable that I quickly fell back asleep. I had a dream about the days I stayed at Finn's place. Back then, I disliked Finn so much that I constantly opposed him in every way. When he told me not to go out, I deliberately went out. Since he couldn't do anything about it, he had to follow me outside. I had to see him at home and outside, which annoyed me greatly. "Could you stop following me around like a shadow?" Finn shrugged and said, "If it weren't for the fear of you getting lost and my grandma scolding me, I wouldn't be following you at all." Finn's grandma had indeed reminded him to take good care of me. But no matter how he explained it, I just didn't like him following me. Later, in college, during a hiking event, I met Casper. At that time, I passed out halfway up the mountain due to exhaustion. It was Casper who noticed me unconscious, carried me down the mountain, and took me to the hospital. If it weren't for him saving me, I would have been in grave danger. I thought he was amazing and kind, and I fell for Casper. When Finn found out I liked Casper, he came to me, saying, "Noelle, is there something wrong with your eyes? How could you fall for someone like Casper?" At that time, I was head over heels for Casper and couldn't stand hearing such words, so I immediately snapped back. "Who are you to judge who I like? In my heart, he's 1,000 times better than you, no, 1,000,000 times. You don't deserve to talk about him like that. Finn, I hate you. Don't come looking for me again." Finn's expression changed instantly. As a wealthy young master, he was used to being flattered wherever he went. He had never been scolded like this before. After that, he started competing with Casper, whether in academics or other areas, always trying to outdo him. It was as if he wanted to prove to me that he was better and more outstanding than Casper. The two of them became sworn enemies. When he found out I was going to marry Casper, Finn came to see me again. He pressed his thin lips together and asked, "Are you really going to marry Casper?" It had been a long time since I last saw him after I scolded him, and I was even a little surprised he would come to me again. "Who I marry is my own choice." Finn's gaze was fixed intently on me. After a long pause, he finally said, "Casper isn't the right match for you. You shouldn't." I found his lecturing tone irritating and cut him off before he could finish. "I like Casper, and I'm going to marry him. Mind your own business." Back on the mountain, with so many classmates around, Casper was the only one who noticed I'd fainted and exhausted his strength carrying me down. The day I woke up in the hospital, I decided I would marry him. Because besides my grandmother, he was the first person to treat me so well. So I can't let him slip away. Finn's dark eyes fixed on me. "He only married you to spite me." Hearing this made me furious. He was insulting my relationship with Casper. "Finn, do you have any idea how much I despise you meddling in my life? You have no right to treat me like your possession and discipline me. To me, you're nothing." Finn froze. "Finn, didn't you hear Noelle say she can't stand you?" "Our matters are none of your business." Casper suddenly appeared. He raised his chin, looking at Finn with a triumphant air. The atmosphere instantly grew tense, like swords drawn and bows bent. Finn narrowed his slender eyes. Who will emerge victorious remains unknown until the very end. Casper came to my side, wrapping an arm around my waist. "All I know is Noelle loves me, and we'll definitely be happy together." Finn curled his lips into a cold smile. "Oh, really? Let's see who ends up the winner then. After all, compared to me, you've always been a loser." Casper was provoked, tightening his grip around my arm. "Not a chance. Noelle will always be mine." Finn remained unfazed and turned his gaze to me. If you ever want to leave him, just let me know. I'd marry you anytime. Not long after, I married Casper. Later, when Casper inherited his family's company, I quit my old job to help him manage the finances. Life was fairly decent. Until half a year ago when Ariana returned, everything changed, and we started arguing frequently. In Casper's heart, Ariana is clearly more important than me. When I woke up again, it was already dark. I went downstairs and saw a busy figure in the kitchen. I was stunned. He was back, and, cooking? Finn walked out carrying a dish and saw me. Awake? I looked at him. You can cook? Finn smiled faintly and said, you'll learn with a little practice. Soon, he brought all the dishes to the table. Every single dish was my favorite. I never expected him to still remember my food preferences after all these years. What's more, even though he had household staff he could call upon, he chose to cook with his own hands. I bit my lip, and my eyes suddenly reddened. Finn noticed my expression and asked, what's wrong? I shook my head. It's nothing. The food you made is delicious. Casper doesn't even know what I like to eat, and he never asks me what I want. Being with him always makes me feel so worthless. Finn placed a piece of spare rib in my bowl. After dinner, I'll take you out to buy some toiletries. He lived alone, so naturally, there wouldn't be any women's things at his place. After finishing the meal, we headed to the mall. From a distance, I saw Casper and Ariana, strolling around like a young couple. In the past, when I asked Casper to go shopping with me, he always made excuses, saying he was too busy with work. But with Ariana, he never hesitated, he was always at her beck and call. Ariana saw me and deliberately clung to Casper's arm, pressing her body against his. Casper affectionately lifted his other hand and patted her head, you, always acting like a child who never grows up. But when I went out with him and wanted to hold his hand, he always said we needed to maintain a proper image in public. Casper looked up and saw me, a flash of panic crossing his face before he let go of Ariana's hand. Ariana protested, Casper. Ignoring her, Casper strode over to me, pulled me into his arms, and snapped angrily, no wonder you've been picking fights with me for no reason, it was all a ploy to sneak around with Finn. Finn was furious at this twisting of facts. Casper, shut your mouth, he retorted. The two were sworn enemies, and every encounter between them was explosive, this time was no exception. I shoved Casper aside and turned to Finn, saying, go buy toothpaste and a toothbrush for me first. I'll find you later. Finn looked at me in silence. After I reassured him a few more times, he finally walked away with a frown toward the other direction. Casper grabbed my wrist, demanding, what's going on between you and Finn? Don't you realize Finn is just trying to use you to provoke me? I forcefully shook off his hand and said coldly, Casper, what happens between Finn and me is none of your business, and you have no right to meddle in my life. You are my wife. Casper suddenly remembered halfway through that we were already divorced, in any case, you can't be with Finn. We're already divorced. Whoever I want to be with is my freedom, I glanced at Ariana and said coldly, the same goes for you. Ariana glared at me fiercely. Casper quickly explained, Ariana wants to buy some gifts to send to her family, but she can't decide, so she asked me to come and help her choose. I frowned and looked at him coldly, who you want to be with is your business. There's no need to tell me all this, it has nothing to do with me. After speaking, I was about to leave. Casper grabbed my hand and said, you're not allowed to go, Noelle. I forbid you from looking for Finn. I forcefully pulled my hand free. Ariana suddenly collapsed onto the ground, calling out, Casper. Casper glanced at my retreating figure and then at Ariana sitting on the ground. Despite the struggle, he chose to help Ariana up. I found Finn, and together we finished buying everything. While waiting in line to pay, Finn asked me, when should we go get our marriage certificate? I paused for a moment, get married? Seeing my expression, Finn's handsome face darkened again. I licked my lips and said, do you really want to marry me? There's one thing I must make clear to you in advance. Casper doesn't love me, the one he loves is Ariana, so even if you marry me, he won't have any reaction. Finn asked with a grim face, you believe what Casper said and think I want to marry you just to spite him? I blinked my eyes. Isn't that exactly what you're thinking? Finn didn't say anything more and silently pushed the cart toward the checkout. I felt like he was a little angry, but I couldn't figure out why. He dropped me off at the villa and then left. I found out from the housekeeper that he had gone on a business trip. I guess his work must keep him pretty busy. The next day, I got a call from a classmate inviting me to a gathering. Since I had nothing else to do, I decided to go. The private room was lively. Someone asked why Finn hadn't come. Nobody seemed to know. Then, one of my classmates suddenly looked at me. Noelle, aren't you quite close with Finn? Another male classmate also looked at me and said, yeah, back then he almost lost his life saving you. I was a bit confused. He saved me? The male classmate said, don't you remember? That time we went hiking, you fainted on the mountain. It was Finn who carried you down, otherwise it could have been dire for you. I stood up, shocked, and asked, wasn't it Casper who carried me down the mountain? The male classmate shook his head. It was Finn. I watched him carry you down step by step. If it were me, I definitely couldn't have done it. I really admired his strength and determination. He only passed out from exhaustion after reaching the hospital. Casper just helped carry you into the doctor's office after Finn collapsed. No wonder everyone started saying you liked Casper after you were discharged from the hospital, so you thought he was the one who saved you. My whole body froze, and I couldn't react for a long time. Back then, when I woke up in the hospital bed, the first person I saw was Casper. I asked him if he was the one who saved me, and he said yes. There was no one else in the room, so of course I never doubted his words. So it was Finn who saved me. Not Casper. All these years, I've been thanking the wrong person. No wonder Casper never truly cherished me, because the one who risked everything to save me wasn't him. Finn is such a fool. It was him all along, yet he never said a word. I excitedly rushed out of the private room and hurried back to the villa at top speed. Seeing the man standing in the living room who had just returned from a business trip, I joyfully dashed over and hugged him tightly. Finn, let's go get our marriage certificate right now. Finn was taken aback. What did you say? I lifted my head and looked at him. Didn't you promise you would marry me? Let's go get our marriage certificate now. Finn was silent for a long moment before finally saying, okay. I smiled. Finn drove me to get our marriage license. When we came out, looking at the marriage certificate in my hand, the corner of my lips curled up. I had finally married the man I was meant to marry. Finn didn't seem to show much change in expression, but I knew he was just as thrilled inside. Around 11 p.m., I knocked on the study door and looked at the man still working. It's very late. Aren't you going to sleep? Finn thought I was worried he might wake me when returning to the bedroom later. I'll sleep in the guest room. I mustered up the courage to say, we're already married, shouldn't we, sleep together? Finn looked at me in disbelief, sleep together? My face burned hotly, yes. Finn appeared calm on the surface, but upon closer inspection, his ears were completely red. So he could get shy too. I'll be done soon, you get some sleep first. I lowered my head and said okay. Just as I returned to my room, I got a call from Casper. When are you coming home? I'm tired of this, I said impatiently. Casper, have you forgotten? We're divorced. That place isn't my home anymore, and I won't be going back. With that, I ended the call. After a while, Casper sent several messages. Noelle, stop messing around and come back. I miss your cooking. There's a lot of work piled up at the company waiting for you. Are you really going to ignore that too? I didn't reply. Instead, I blocked and deleted him in one go. Still, he wasn't entirely wrong, there really was a lot to deal with at the company. The next morning during breakfast, I noticed Finn kept glancing at me as if he wanted to say something but hesitated. "Do you have something to tell me?" Finn asked. "How did you sleep last night?" Remembering how he'd carefully lain beside me last night, even afraid to turn over, was really adorable. I smiled and said, "Pretty good." Finn visibly let out a sigh of relief. I took a sip of milk. "After breakfast, I'm going to Casper's company." Hearing that I was going to Casper's company, Finn's smile froze. Worried he might misunderstand, I explained, "I'm going to complete my resignation process. I don't want to have any further ties with Casper." Upon hearing that I was there for resignation, Finn's expression softened slightly. "Then I'll drive you there after we finish eating." I asked, "Won't it delay your work?" "You might be late." "It's fine." Since he said so, I stopped refusing. After breakfast, Finn drove me to the office building. Once parked, he came around to my side to open the door and looked down at me. "I'll wait here for you." "Okay." As soon as I got out of the car, I saw my colleague Winnie walking toward me. "Noelle, you finally showed up, Winnie paused mid-sentence when she noticed Finn standing beside me, her eyes lighting up at the sight of his sharply defined handsome face. "Who is this handsome guy?" I smiled and said, "This is my husband." Winnie laughed in surprise and asked, "When did you get married?" After chatting with Winnie for a bit, I let her into the company. Then I looked at Finn and said, "Maybe you should go to work first. I'll just take a taxi back later." Finn frowned. "Why?" "Winnie and her colleagues are really nosy. Within 10 minutes, she'll bring a bunch of coworkers down to gawk at you. Moreover, his presence here was too conspicuous, drawing too much attention." Finn said nonchalantly, "Let them look. I'm your husband, not some shady secret." I laughed, feeling like he seemed somewhat different from before. This feeling was rather nice. Since he didn't mind, I decided to let it be. As soon as I entered the office, I saw several male colleagues busily moving things around. Upon asking, I learned that Ariana was coming to work at the company, and Casper had ordered them to prepare an office for her. A few female colleagues who usually don't get along with me remarked, "I heard this Ariana graduated from a prestigious foreign university and is the CEO's white moonlight." The power of a white moonlight needs no emphasis. The CEO even cleared out the office next door for her. With treatment like this, she's definitely the future Mrs. CEO. No wonder Noelle hasn't been coming to work lately. She probably realized she stands no chance. Exactly. How could she possibly compare to Ariana? They stopped talking as soon as they saw me, immediately falling silent and pretending to be busy. One of the female colleagues glanced at me and said, "We were just telling the truth, not making up lies. What's there to fear?" I was about to speak when Ariana walked over. She held up a paper bag and said, "I went shopping the other day and bought small welcome gifts for everyone. Come and get yours." Hearing about the gifts, everyone gathered around. "Wow, I've always wanted this lipstick but couldn't bring myself to buy it because it's too expensive." "Thank you so much, Ariana. Ariana is so generous, no wonder the CEO adores you so much." Ariana glanced at me, her smug expression all too obvious. I stepped forward and said coldly, "It's working hours now, not time for personal gatherings." The atmosphere instantly turned tense. Ariana glared at me. "Noelle, are you deliberately making things difficult for me?" I shot her a cold glance. "Who do you think you are? Why would I bother making things difficult for you on purpose?" Ariana, furious, quickly stepped toward me and was about to slap me when she suddenly raised her hand to cover her own face. "Noelle, how could you hit me? If you dislike me, I'll apologize, okay? Please don't hit me." What kind of stunt is she pulling? I'm completely speechless. "Noelle." I turned around and saw Casper storming toward me. In an instant, I understood. Ariana did it on purpose, she wanted to frame me. But it doesn't matter anymore. Right now, I don't care what Casper thinks of me. I simply played along, raised my hand and slapped Ariana, then looked at Casper and said nonchalantly, "Since you said I hit you, I might as well show you what it looks like." Then I turned to Casper. I've hit your precious darling. How do you plan to deal with me? Ariana's gaze at me was practically murderous. She sobbed, Casper, you have to stand up for me. Casper's gaze remained fixed on me, but he didn't say much, just had someone take Ariana to get an ice pack for her face. Ariana hadn't expected this reaction from Casper, especially since he had always doted on her. Feeling wronged, she tugged at his arm and whined, Casper, my face hurts so much. Yet Casper remained unmoved, his brows furrowed with displeasure. Aren't you going? Seeing this, Ariana didn't dare say another word and left awkwardly. I curled my lips. This was the first time I'd seen Ariana rebuffed in front of Casper. Casper said to me, come in. With that, he took the lead and walked toward his office. I did have something to say to him, so I followed him inside. Casper sat in his office chair and looked at me. Ariana couldn't find a job, so I let her temporarily work as my secretary at the company. It was all my idea. Can you not target her? Target her? I don't have time for that. I said coldly, I'm here to resign today. Casper's jaw tightened abruptly. Noelle, there's a limit to your temper tantrums. Stop this nonsense, I won't approve your resignation. He then added, go and sort out this month's financial statements now. I had no interest in wasting words with him, I just wanted to end this quickly. I've already submitted my resignation to HR. Whether you agree or not, my decision is final. Casper stood up, suppressing his temper and said, Noelle, I promise you, I'll find time to visit Grandma with you these 2 days. Are you satisfied now? I looked at his face and laughed. Casper frowned, what do you mean? Isn't it just because I didn't go with you to see Grandma that time that you're angry? He always assumes things so self-righteously. Without giving him another glance, I strode toward the door. Casper caught up and slammed the door I had just opened shut. He pinned me against the door, his large hand gripping my waist, not letting me move. Casper, are you out of your mind? Let go of me. The moment the door opened, Ariana, who happened to be walking by, saw us. She knocked on the door, saying, Casper, open the door. Ariana kept knocking, and Casper pulled me into his embrace before opening the door. What is it? Ariana went crazy with jealousy when she saw Casper holding me. Casper, let go of Noelle first. It won't look good if people see you two hugging like this. Casper shouted, she's my wife. I can hug her or kiss her whenever I want. Who cares what they think? Ariana froze. The employees outside were also stunned. Ariana burst into tears and ran away. Casper didn't chase after her but instead looked down at me. Now everyone knows you're my wife. Happy now? Stop being angry. I pushed him away forcefully. Casper, do you really think I'll always be waiting for you the moment you turn around? Casper's pupils contracted sharply, as if he finally realized he was losing me. Suddenly, he grabbed my wrist and pulled me out of the office, into the elevator. Frowning, I asked, what else do you want? I'll go see Grandma with you now. A hint of irony flashed in my eyes. Since you're so eager to see my grandmother, I'll take you to her. No sooner had my words fallen than the elevator doors coincidentally opened, revealing Finn standing outside. Seeing Casper with his arm around me, his face darkened like storm clouds about to burst, and he turned to leave without a word. I was about to call out to him when Casper covered my mouth. Only when the elevator doors closed did he release me. I glared at him, he'd done it on purpose. Casper had a triumphant look on his face. I averted my gaze, choosing not to engage with him. I would have to explain everything to Finn after we returned. I took Casper to my father's house. My dad was startled when he saw me arrive with Casper. Noelle. I opened the drawer, took out my grandmother's cremation certificate, and placed it on the table. Casper was stunned, his hands trembled as he picked up the certificate. How could this happen? Expressionless, I said, on the day my grandmother passed, she wanted to see you, but you insisted on going to the airport to pick up Ariana. Casper panicked, I don't know, I really didn't know about grandmas. I interrupted him. I clearly told you how dangerous Grandma's heart attack could be, and you still dare to say you didn't know? I thought it was just an excuse she made to stop me from picking up Ariana. Casper looked at me. Grandma wanted to see me then, she must have wanted to remind me to take good care of you. Will you listen to her and give me another chance? You're wrong, I said, enunciating each word carefully. Grandma is very disappointed in you. She told me to leave. Casper took 2 steps backward, his face twisted in pain and guilt. At that moment, I finally became certain that he loved me. But I no longer cared for his love, and even found his current appearance hypocritical and disgusting. Noelle, I know you still love me. Don't worry, I promise to keep my distance from Ariana from now on, and I won't contact her anymore. Is that okay? He grabbed my hand. Let's get remarried right now. I shook him off, staring into his eyes and said, Casper, it's too late. I'm already married to Finn. Casper kept shaking his head. No way. This can't be true. You must be lying to me. I ignored him further. After telling my dad to keep Grandma's cremation certificate safe, I left. I got home but didn't see Finn. I called and texted him, but he didn't respond. He must have misunderstood. When I entered the room and saw a box of clothes, I immediately went to ask the nanny about it. These were bought by Mr. Finn for you. He said they're all the latest seasonal styles and that you'd love them when you saw them. My eyes welled up with warmth. Finn was always so thoughtful and attentive toward me. When he comes back, I'll explain everything properly to him. The next day, I got a call from Winnie saying some work hadn't been fully handed over and asking me to come back to the company once more. I've always been serious about my work, so I just moved on. Who would have thought that the moment I arrived at the company, I saw Casper holding a bouquet of red roses. He smiled at me and said, Noelle, these flowers are for you. Will you come home with me? I promise I won't make you sad anymore, dear. Please forgive me just this once. Every time I see Casper now, I feel annoyed. Don't call me dear. You disgust me. I tried to walk past him, but Casper suddenly knelt in front of me, pleading, Noelle, I love you. Please don't ignore me anymore. All the employees in the office were stunned by the scene. The CEO is truly devoted to Noelle. I've never seen the CEO humble himself like this for anyone. He must be deeply in love with Noelle. Watching Casper kneel before me, I felt nothing but indifference, wishing only for him to stop pestering me. Someone recorded this scene and posted it online, where it was widely shared. Everyone praised Casper as the most devoted lover. Ariana was nearly driven mad when she saw Casper kneeling to beg for my forgiveness. Casper, are you trying to win Noelle back just to spite Finn? Ariana, I was foolish before, but now I understand clearly, the one I love is Noelle. I only want to be with her for the rest of my life, and I'll keep waiting for her to forgive me. At these words, Ariana froze rigid. Before she could respond, a middle-aged woman rushed in and demanded, Who here is Ariana? Ariana looked at her. I am, you. Before she could finish speaking, the middle-aged woman slapped her hard. You homewrecker. How dare you seduce my husband? It turned out that Ariana had been maintaining an inappropriate relationship with her former boss, and now his wife had found out and came to settle the score. I posted my marriage certificate with Finn on the forum, announcing that I was already married. Casper, however, continued to chase after me relentlessly, constantly coming to see me and even going to my parents' house to persuade them to convince me to get back together with him. I ignored him, waiting at home every day for Finn to return. That evening, I suddenly received a message from a friend saying she spotted Finn at a banquet she was attending. I rushed over immediately. Amid the clinking of glasses, I caught sight of Finn. Without hesitation, I ran to him and held him tightly. Looking up at him with my lips pursed, I asked, Why haven't you come home? Do you know how much I've missed you these days? Finn froze, as if finding it hard to believe. You missed me? I nodded emphatically. I missed you so much, Finn. I don't love Casper, it's you I love. This time, Finn was completely speechless, but I could feel his body trembling with emotion. Really? I stood on tiptoe and kissed him. Finn snapped out of it, wrapped his arms tightly around my waist, and kissed me back. The entire venue erupted in applause. Not far away, Casper stood there with bloodshot eyes, crushing the glass in his hand. After the banquet, he never came looking for me again. Meanwhile, Finn and I made rapid progress in our relationship. He no longer hid his feelings. Each morning when he woke up, he would kiss me on his own initiative and say, "I love you, wife." I felt incredibly happy. I was fortunate not to have lost him. A long time later, I happened to scroll through the news online and saw that Casper's company had gone bankrupt due to poor management. His reckless approach to business had led to this outcome. Served him right. The following year, I became pregnant. After Finn found out I was pregnant, he spoiled me even more.